Hello
Yep.
and welcome everybody to the beginning of our new project. I am Austin,
And I'm Kieran.
and we wanted to welcome you to Sector 2. Now, Sector 2 is a podcast designed by gearheads for all, and we're going to be doing a lot of technical deep dives into the complexities of motorsports while also just discussing a lot of the drama, the topics, the fun, and the chaos that happens in the rotating circuits of Formula One, casual stuff for IndyCar and their races, the Indy 500, and hoping to cover a couple more motorsport series, but we'll kind of just develop as time goes on, especially when there's news coming out or drama that needs to be discussed on a podcast. You'll more than likely see several different types of racing series appear on that. We are going to be your hosts. My name is Austin. I have another channel going by Chexv. I am a mechanical engineering student, and I also participate in the school's racing team. I am an aerodynamic understudy within their Formula team. And I've driven by a big passion for anything automotive, huge into sim racing, photography. Basically, anything I can get my hands on that's within that scene is almost right up my alley.
And I'm Kieran. I am an automotive mechanic who spent more hours wrenching than I can count. I've had a lifelong passion for anything and everything automotive and motorsports. And I'm thrilled to join Austin on this quite new adventure.
Yeah, this has definitely been a project that's been quite some time in the making. I think there's been discussions for roughly 3 years, and the name of this podcast has not changed in 3 years. So,
Not at all.
surprising enough, it has stayed pretty consistent there. So, now we'll go ahead and jump straight into some juicy tidbits. So, we'll have several things for discussion here today. The first thing I want to jump on is actually something that came out a little bit earlier today by a Instagram page called Formula Aerodynamics, I believe it is. They had a discussion about how Ferrari and Williams are basically announcing and showing their cars infinitely earlier than almost every other team. McLaren, Red Bull, and several other huge competitors are showing their car off when it comes to winter testing or just after winter testing. Ferrari and Williams are jumping the gun. I think it's a few weeks earlier, which is going to be a bit of a disadvantage to them in a way, since it's going to be pushing back their every other team's manufacturing. They have to have their car designed and manufactured weeks earlier than those other teams, who can spend a little bit more time on CFD, a little bit more time ironing out any kinks, and just overall manufacturing the car. Do we think this is going to make an impact to their season upcoming?
Oof. I mean, a few weeks in F1 is a pretty long time, especially for development. However, I think that Ferrari will overcome that disadvantage. And so will Williams in a way. Now, do I think Williams is going to be like a top three, like championship contender? Absolutely not. Uh, but they're absolutely going to overcome that advantage or disadvantage.
Yeah, I can agree. I think a week or two shouldn't impact their development a whole lot, especially since they've had the entirety of last year to basically catch up with any reg changes that have happened. So they'll have
Yeah.
time to work on that. And even then, Ferrari has been regarded as one of the teams to watch for this upcoming season, especially with their new driver transfer,
Oh,
Sir Lewis
absolutely.
Hamilton. And then Williams has quite a bit of hype behind it, since it seems James Valls has seemed to found a cheat code in the system, has fixed the what was it, the messy Excel sheet that was running the team for like the past 25 years, and they've
Yeah.
also managed to rope in Carlos Sainz. So they have a
Yeah.
very sturdy and reliable driver. I'd probably coin him Mr. Consistent if he isn't already called that. So I feel like it won't impact them much. I don't remember what the actual number was, but I'm fairly confident it takes 2 or 3 weeks to even manufacture like a single front wing of a car. So
Yeah. So
even
I
sorry, you
that's
go.
why I that's why I think that it's not going to put them at a huge disadvantage or anything. It's really just like maybe a front wing and that's it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I don't think there's that much time to change that, and even then, I I'm a mechanical engineering student, as I explained earlier, so I've had opportunities to speak with people in the industry in some cases and jump on opportunities for interviews with teams. A little while ago, I got to jump on a sponsored program with a McLaren engineer and their CFD company where they were talking about the design and manufacturing processes of body components for the car in a competitive nature. And one of the things that the engineer had mentioned was that they go through an infinite amount of CFD designs. I don't remember the exact number of what he said. I probably could pull it up somewhere in my own Aero journal that I have. But
Oh
I'm
yeah,
fairly certain he said there's thousands of employees cranking out thousands of CFDs, and they're only allowed to use a certain amount of simulations because of the regulations with withholding them from wind tunnel and CFD time. So they only have a set amount
yeah,
of tests based on championship standings per 2 months, I believe, is the cycle. So they're only allowed to test a few. So they make a ton of designs and then test the few that they think are going to work. Then whatever ones do work, they'll find the most efficient and fluid one out of their testing, send it off to manufacturing, make a 3/4 scale design, I believe it was, test it in the wind tunnel. If that 3/4 scale proves the CFD in the actual wind tunnel session, they manufacture the full size component for the car. So there's already countless hours of design and testing behind that really is going to take a lot of time previously. So they had to have had this ironed
yeah.
out before. I don't I don't
Absolutely.
I don't think it's long enough for it to make a lasting impact on that.
Yeah, not at all. And even if it is like a decent sized impact, they can develop it in time. So
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Because as soon as the cars are set for winter testing, they're able to find more defects on the car and more weak points and start developing to have
yeah,
something either ready by, well, it's Australia this year, but then a few races in, I don't remember the exact order, but isn't
man.
it like China or Japan's going to be the second, third race, something around that mark, maybe fourth? I know Bahrain's like race 5 this year. The calendar's been a
Yeah,
little bit mishmash now, but it's nice to see they're going back to Australia as the opening race again.
yeah.
That's
I
really
kind of
nice to see.
forgot. I kind of forgot they're going back to Australia this year
Oh
instead of
yeah.
Bahrain.
When was the last time they did that? Was that 2019?
It must have been 2019 because they started going to Bahrain like COVID, so
That's
like 2020.
right. I was gonna say because in 2020 they were in Australia when everything got canceled, so they shut down operations and sent everyone home. It canceled while they were on the
Yeah.
grid for Australia in 2020. Yeah,
Oh
that's
man.
right. So that was technically going to be the last time Australia started, but the actual one, the last time that it was lights out was 2019. So
Yeah. I I'm excited to see this. Australia for the first race of the year for the first time in like what, 6 years?
yeah, it's gonna be a
That's
nice
quite a
throwback.
long time.
It's going to be
Oh
quite a
yeah.
nice throwback. I love Bahrain, don't get me wrong, but Australia is not fun to drive personally, in my opinion, especially in sim racing. That's just a skill issue on my part though. But Australia, it's a fun circuit to watch, especially since they've opened up that back straight and stopped that one corner. What was it, turn 10? They just straightened it out, so it's one
Yeah.
long back straight.
I'm excited to see it. 100%.
Absolutely. I think this season could be probably one of the most competitive seasons on the grid this year. So, uh,
Yeah,
I
especially like in the midfield and
I don't think it's going to be what was it, 2012, 2013 scenario where you have like a multitude of world champions and almost infinite race winners, but it's going to be a very competitive grid, especially since we're seeing 4 to 5 new rookies on the grid, which I think Lawson's technically being counted as a rookie since he's never had a full season, but in technicality, this would be his third season in a car. So
yeah.
I think third
I mean,
season.
we can absolutely we can hope that it's going to be like a repeat of 2012.
Oh,
I don't
absolutely.
think it's going to happen, but fingers crossed that it does.
Absolutely, yes. I That's one thing that I've noticed changing over the years as they've gone by is that like championship wins have turned from like a bundle of race wins to pure dominance in a show of display. I mean, obviously
Yeah,
we had like Schumacher in the early 2000s and then the late 90s and such, and then it was like a bundle of wins for like Fernando Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen and such, Jenson Button even. But then it
yeah,
turned into Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, where you're seeing record number of race wins in a single season being posted, or just utter dominance, wins by 40 seconds to a minute to laps.
Yeah.
it turned a very anti-competitive for a little bit. So I guess 2024 was a bit of a refresher, even though it really kept you on the edge of your seat depending on who you were rooting for. But it was a fantastic season for all the viewers. You never knew who was going to win going
Oh,
into a race
absolutely.
weekend, at least in the
You never
second half.
knew who was gonna win, like you said, in the second half. Because
Yeah,
it was like Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen. For like
first
it
7
was
races, I think.
yeah, like along with fucking 2023 where he won nearly every race.
Yeah,
I don't want a repeat of that. I want I want the championship to be hard fought, damn it.
I 100% agree with that. Especially that last half of the season where you're seeing basically everyone from what the top 3, 4 teams were getting involved in punching for
Oh
wins there
yeah.
because you had wins from Mercedes with Russell, you had Hamilton and Silverstone, you had Leclerc and Sainz winning their own races. What Sainz won in Australia and Singapore, or was I am I thinking of 23 when Sainz won in Singapore in 23? Who won in
Let
or
me
was it
let me
Russell?
look that up.
I was gonna say I don't
I
remember off the
think
top of my head.
Singapore, you said 24 or 23.
Singapore 24.
I believe it was no, it was Lando Norris.
Oh, that is right. Yes. Yeah, because they were running that chrome livery. I forgot about that.
That's right. That was a fucking fire ass livery.
I 100% agree. I still like their shadow livery from 23, whereas basically a full blacked out
Yeah.
car for OKX. That was, in my opinion, like the best recent McLaren livery. Don't get me wrong, I like the chrome, but I don't know why. There was just something about that
Yeah.
blacked out McLaren that was just stunning.
They need to go back to their 2022, I believe, Monaco livery, the Golf livery.
I agree. I think that was no, that was 21.
Oh, was it?
Yes, because 22 is the new regs, so that was the first time we saw the crazy cars. I think in 22 they had the triple,
Two?
wasn't it like the triple cup winners livery with like the Indy 500 and Monaco Grand Prix and then the Daytona 500. No, Le Mans. It was Le Mans. It was like the triple crown
Yeah.
livery, and then they ran Brazil this last year. What did they run in 23, or did they run one in 23?
Wasn't it like a Marlboro inspired one? Or
That
am I
was
like,
that was a part of the Triple Crown livery with the
okay,
Monaco.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
We might have to go through and do like a ranking of our own favorite car liveries that we've seen. So I don't know.
That's,
We'll have to look at something like that for another day. But one quick
I like
topic
that
before
idea.
we get into some of the more fun bits is I actually have a beautiful little paper for me, which I'll have to put on screen. But long story short, I had a Formula One calendar last year, and I was able to make predictions on the season in the very beginning, which I actually nailed up until summer break, and then everything just went to holy hell.
Yeah.
So we
With
will be
like,
getting into. Sorry, what'd you say?
just with all those different race winners. Sorry.
Yes, it turned
Um,
violently chaotic. So we will be making our 2025 predictions here. Basically, to finish out this podcast is one of our last discussion points, unless something else pops up. But I had made
yeah.
2024 predictions, which I think I had like a 90% hit rate up until the summer break. It's not actually 90%. I think it's like 78, 81. I don't know. It's a hit, whatever it is. So my top 5 driver predictions for the year was Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, and then this one was my biggest regret, which I failed at the summer break, Perez.
Oh,
I should have swapped him for Piastri, and I think I was hesitant on it because he
yeah.
was still learning and developing, which he took a step last year. So that was definitely my biggest
No
regret on there.
kidding.
And this one I
Yeah.
definitely got wrong by the end of the year, but for the constructors, my top 3, I had Red Bull Racing, McLaren, and Ferrari. So technically shuffle
Dude,
down Red Bull 2 spots, and I got that, but by the summer break, the only thing I'd missed was Perez.
never in my like I never would have thought that McLaren would actually, pull it off
Oh
in
yeah,
the next like 10 years because like they've been they've been decent the past few years. Like 2020 and onwards, they've been pretty good. Not great, but decent enough to get podiums and shit.
yeah, they were podium contenders at that point. They were like top of the midfield. Best of the
Yeah.
rest, I think was the term used.
Yeah, it's best of the rest. And then all of a sudden this year happened with Piastri and Norris. They fucking won the constructors.
Yes, they did. I think the big thing there was just consistency from that. I mean, you had
Yeah.
Verstappen basically pulling the Drivers' Championship on his own. First in the Drivers' Championship, third in the Constructors. And I'm fairly confident I saw something that if you take off Perez from the Constructors' Championship, Red Bull still would have been in third.
Yeah.
Verstappen was
Perez
pulling the weight.
Perez was the sole reason that Red Bull didn't win. The sole reason.
I still think it's a big mistake for them not to get Carlos Sainz. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I think a
Huge.
quote from, I think it was either Horner or Marco, but they mentioned the door is not closed for them to sign Carlos Sainz in the future, which
I mean,
it's
he
interesting.
used to be he used to be a Rebel Junior, so I don't understand why they wouldn't take him.
He was in Toro Rosso with Verstappen as his teammate, 2016. Yeah.
Imagine they reunite. That'd be badass.
That's honestly the dream scenario for Red Bull if this Lawson project doesn't turn out well. Or if they just, Marco
Yeah.
decides, hey, we're going to ignore Tsunoda, just get signs. So, and we can never rule that out. Marco is like a mystery of the world, just like trying to figure out an automatic transmission and how they function.
He's like, I swear to you, he's getting fucking demented. There's no way he doesn't have some form of fucking dementia.
You're not wrong,
Like,
honestly. The dude
I
has an
mean,
eye for talent, though.
yeah, he does, honestly.
He's pulled in, like,
Maybe not for Perez, but
yeah, that was a mistake. I think 8 of the current 20 drivers on the actual Formula One grid today were a part of the Red Bull Driver Academy at one point.
yeah, because it was Max,
Signs.
uh, Signs, yeah, Lawson.
Jack Doohan was actually in the Red Bull Academy back in Formula 2 a few years ago, and then he got dropped.
Really?
Yes, so he's
Damn.
another one that's been counted for that.
Gasly,
Albon?
I wish Gasly,
Albano?
yeah, I
I
wish
had the
Gasly
list in
was,
front of me. I just realized I could absolutely look it off here. But
yeah,
yeah, because Verstappen was, um, Lawson was, Sainz was, Tsunoda was, Albon was, Gasly was,
Hadjar is.
Hadjar is, Doohan is. That might be all of them right there, actually. I don't know if anyone else was actually left off of that, but that's.
That's like nearly half the grid.
Oh, yeah. All out of the Red Bull Junior Academy, or were a part of it at one point.
That's actually wild to think about.
Yeah, definitely developing talent. I guess you could say Marco has an eye for something, but that eye is also following with a
Lazy.
questionable man behind it. Yeah, lazy. That's a better way of saying it. Yeah. So those predictions were pretty all right, but now we're gonna jump into the juicy bits of the 2025 predictions, where this is where my channel is also going to come into this. So this is going to be a dual upload. This full VOD is going to go on our new Sector 2 channel, which you can find Sector 2 Podcast or Sector 2 Pod on basically every social media known to man except Twitter or X at the moment. I'm still expanding. I'm running marketing operations for fun, so we'll just see how this works. But I'm going to be posting the 2025 predictions on my own personal channel too, so it'll be like 2 separate videos, but you'll get the full experience of just utter chaos on this VOD through the Sector 2 channel. So welcome to the experience, and my name is Shexvi. Let's get started. So,
Oh, yes.
the first question of 2025 predictions. Who do we think is going to be the closest teammate pairing?
I'm going to say Norris and Piastri. They've got very similar levels of talent. And yeah, they're just both super talented drivers, and they've got a really good car. Questionable team orders.
Papaya rules, papaya
So
rules.
yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But I think they're gonna be the closest teammate pairing. They're gonna finish like directly next to each other in the drivers' championship. I think so.
I think I'm going to completely agree with you. I'm stuck between two teams, which I think we can both imagine what those two teams are, but I still have question marks towards one of them. That's Ferrari and McLaren. I think McLaren
Ooh,
ultimately is going to be it because I still have question marks towards Hamilton. I think he
yeah,
could do it. I think he can do it. He showed brilliant flashes, especially in Vegas towards the end of last year. But he
yeah,
also was pretty consistently outpaced by Russell, which that's something else with Hamilton too. If the car is not suited to his driving style or he's not comfortable with that car, he kind of just shuts down. He complains and he just loses a lot of pace off of that. So that's kind of his own
yeah,
like self destruction if he's not very comfortable with the car he's suited towards. But after that, if Hamilton can get it right, I still think he's at that age where he could absolutely nail it at Ferrari and take it to Charles Leclerc. But I think
yeah.
the absolute safest bet is McLaren because Piastri definitely
Absolutely.
took a leap in the second half of that season there with a couple wins there. He was lights out, had a very brilliant race in Baku against Leclerc where he just absolutely outpaced them, of course, with the totally legal flexi rear wing, which can be discussed at a later point. That might be a topic for our technical discussions. But after that,
Yeah,
I Oscar's taken a jump, and I think towards the end of the year, he proved that he was getting better when it came to tire management, which was his biggest flaw as of recent times. And I think if he can make that tire management jump in terms of skill and overall understanding with the car, I think he's fully capable of actually taking it to Lando this year and making McLaren a very dangerous 1-2 punch.
yeah. I think hmm, we'll get to that.
Absolutely, yes.
I have a very hot take for that later on.
I may be the same in that instance. All right. And so the next topic we're getting onto is the furthest teammate pairing, which I think is the most blazing, like written on the wall of exactly who in the hell we are thinking about right here. We could say it at the exact same time and say the same damn thing.
One, two, three.
Aston
Aston Martin.
Martin. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Aston Martin, Alonso is a two-time world champion, and their team principal is covering Stroll's so he can keep his job, which clearly didn't work
pretty
because
much.
Mike Crack is out of the job. So Aston Martin is now moving on to a new team principal. I don't remember his name specifically, but I know he got moved up the food chain from the inside of Aston Martin. So that's going to be something we're going to have to watch on the management tree as we're going into the 2025 season. But getting back to the driver standpoint, comparing Alonso to Stroll is like comparing a like Aston Martin Valkyrie to a Toyota Prius. There is no comparison in that instance, and there is a blatant skill issue when it goes between the two drivers. Stroll's a
Yeah,
okay driver. I mean, let's be honest, he's there because of the ownership of the team, but he is not Fernando Alonso. Fernando Alonso is
not in any
arguably
way.
Fernando Alonso is arguably one of the greatest drivers of all time when it comes to pure race pace, aggression, and just overall skill when it comes to going behind the wheel of a car. This man has won in nearly every series he has competed in, especially like 24 Hours of Le Mans with Toyota. Didn't win Indy because, McLaren kind of sucked in Indy at that point when he tried to compete. And I think he tried to also do it with Andretti 1 year for the Indy 500, but he was close to the front, and I think he had a mechanical failure on one of his attempts. I think he was running sixth, and then his engine just gone. And then of course, it was a Honda. So
Yep.
carrying on the traditions in the same time point of GP2 engine. So conveniently enough, but Alonso is proven. And I think everyone that looks at the sport that has some decent wheel knowledge just knows he is a unit, and Stroll is like a napkin trying to stop a gladiator from just running through a fence. There, that napkin
Yeah.
ain't doing nothing.
Yeah. No. Um, yeah, I absolutely agree. I think Fernando Alonso is one of the greatest drivers of all time, simply for his diversity. Um, I mean, like you said, he drove for Toyota in the 24 hours. He drove for what was it? Fucking,
Andretti and McLaren for Indy.
yeah, McLaren for Indy, and right now he's driving for Aston Martin, two-time world champion. With Renault, he is one of the greats going against a joke, quite literally. I mean, he's there just because of his fucking father's cash. That's literally it. Um, but a second potential one that I could see happening is Red Bull. They've moved Lawson up to the Red Bull seat pretty early. I'm kind of skeptical, but I mean, of course, he is a good driver. He did really well in Super Formula. He did really well in F2. But yeah, I think it's going to be Aston Martin, but
I
it could be Red Bull.
I do. That is an interesting hot take, which I will get to touch on here in a couple minutes through some of the other uh, questions that we have to discuss there. But I could absolutely see that being a possibility. I feel like if I had to choose a secondary, I feel like honestly that big gap is either going to be for Alpine could be one, Racing Bulls could be one, but I personally think Mercedes could also be under that category too, with Antonelli
I don't
and Russell. But then that stems back to
see
the thing. It's all on the skill of Antonelli.
see. I don't think the Racing Bulls car or even the Alpine is gonna be quick enough to have that much of a gap between the teammates.
It's going to be a gap of 2 points with one of the drivers scoring four, the other one driving two. That's literally going to be the gap.
Yeah.
It's going to be such a massive gap that the team has a total of 6 points, at least for Alpine. Um, More on that later. All right, next category: most improved driver. I'll let you kick this off. And this can be rookie. This can be someone who's had a rough year last year and can kick it higher. Shoot for the stars.
Tsunoda. Tsunoda is going to be the most improved. He's going to prove Helmut Marko wrong by absolutely kicking ass in the midfield. No, I don't think he's going to have the fastest car in the midfield. Not at all. Because, I mean, one, he's in a B team. Two, their last season was not very fucking good. So,
Not at all. But
um,
Tsunoda did show quite a few flashes during that year.
oh yeah, and he's gonna step it up even more. I feel like he's gonna get even more consistent. He's gonna show pace very frequently. He is going to show composure. He's gonna improve in every way.
I
So
absolutely agree. Tsunoda is a very interesting driver. I think he's pretty quick. He has some good talent. He's
yeah,
done very well in the junior series. One thing to watch is he's going to have a fire under his ass for not being the one that was
oh
moved to
yeah,
Red Bull. He's going to have a big chip on his shoulder. But also, this is a contract year for him. His contract's up at the end of 2025. So he's going to have to perform
yeah,
to keep his seat or prove to other teams that he is worth keeping on board. Which, another interesting
absolutely.
thing is he actually had a decent record against his teammates last year. So, a very interesting thing is that on average, Yuki Tsunoda was faster than his teammates when it came to quality pace. He beat Daniel Ricciardo 12 to 6, and he beat Ricciardo. He actually lost to Ricciardo in sprint qualifying 2 to 1. And then for Liam Lawson, he destroyed him 6-0 in terms of qualifying head to head. And then he lost in sprint qualifying 2 to 1 to Lawson. But the very interesting thing is he was actually outpaced when it came turn to the fastest lap. So I have a little fun diagram here, which actually has the fastest laps compared between the two teammates over the Grand Prix they were together. Which the interesting thing is that Daniel Ricciardo, on average, outpaced Tsunoda by 37 thousandths of a second on their fastest laps over a total of 14 Grand Prix together. So Daniel Ricciardo's fastest lap compared to Yuki's fastest lap over a race, average faster. And the interesting thing is Liam Lawson destroyed him in that same category. Instead of Ricciardo's 37 thousandths of a second, Liam Lawson outpaced Tsunoda on the fastest lap by roughly 0.26 seconds. So basically a quarter of a second faster over the fastest laps they had on Grand Prix over 5 Grand Prix.
Yeah, yeah. He's going to be the most improved driver. I think he's going to show the fuck up.
I could absolutely see that. And I'm going to flip the board now. I believe my most improved driver is Liam Lawson. That's a big hot take. That is a big hot take. My only reason why I'm saying that is because Liam Lawson, very dominant in karting career, that doesn't mean anything. In his junior career, he did pretty well. I think he won, Formula 3 championship, Formula 4 champ. I think he won Formula 4 for sure. I don't think he won Formula 3, and I think he was just shy in Formula 2. But I think he was like top 5 or top 10 that entire time throughout that he was in his junior series. And then, of course, he was a reserve driver for a little bit, so he didn't really do that much. So he got shipped off to Super Formula, which, per some drivers who race in Super Formula, that is regarded as a way more difficult series than Junior, because it's basically a Formula 2 car with more power and cracked out aerodynamics. And I think also no driver assist, if I'm correct. I need to fact check me on that. But the thing is, he got thrown into Super Formula in his first race. He dominated. I'm fairly certain he won that flat out. And his first year in Super Formula, a more competitive and difficult championship, he got second in that championship that year. His first year in a more difficult series. The kid just goes in and destroys.
Yeah, I can honestly see Liam Lawson showing up and being the most improved driver.
Don't forget Singapore 2022.
Oh, yeah. However, I think the pressure of being in a top team next to Max Verstappen of all people, I think that's going to get to him.
Absolutely. That's going to be something to watch. That's going to be something to watch is he capable of handling that pressure, which I've already seen an interview, whether it was from Liam himself to the press or whether it was Marco to the press. But Liam is basically approaching Red Bull with a different mindset of, I need to focus on my own performances and just completely disregard what Max is doing. He's going to try and focus 100% on his performance. Do not compare himself. Nothing like that. He's almost doing Rosberg in that effect. He's focusing on the best that he can do in his current circumstance, which is honestly a great mindset going in, because you're going up against a four-time in a row world champion in a team that's very questionable going into this next year, and it has a history of the last 3 or 4 people. No, it would be 3. No, Gasly, Albano, Perez. The last 3, because Daniel Ricciardo did well. So you're getting thrown into a team where the last 3 drivers have been sacked due to performance because they just absolutely blow. Like, Perez was putting up worse performances than Gasly and Albon and lasted longer, I think, out of pity or sponsorship money. But he was doing worse performances than Albon and Gasly in terms of qualifying, race pace, and all that, and still lasted longer. But now he has to step up and show that he is capable of taking on a new car, which I think he could do. He didn't seem to wow me as much in 2023 when he got thrown in for Ricciardo, but when it came to 2022 and he's thrown in for that 2 or 3 race series from Singapore to, was it Qatar? It was something like that. I think he thrown in for a 2 or 3 race series in 2022, but he jumped in and the dude stunted. Like, I'm fairly confident he outpaced Tsunoda on quali and race pace on all the races he was a part of that team. He really showed his worth in that instance. He showed that he is capable of jumping in a brand new car under a brand new circumstance and just ripping the hell out of it.
Yeah, in F1, you have to be able to adapt, and credit where credit is due. Liam Lawson he has shown that he is able to adapt on a dime. I mean, it's really one of those like traits that you have to have if you're gonna be a world champion, which I mean Max has it. Hamilton, we'll see if he has it.
That is the test.
Yeah. um yeah, Vettel, he's shown
He
he
did well in
wasn't
his early
able
years
to
in
adapt.
Ferrari.
Yeah.
And then he kind of let the
He-
pressure build on him in like 2017. It was just downhill from there.
Yeah.
But he did have that. He was
Yeah.
skilled. I mean, the jump from Toro Rosso. Wait, what did he do? He tested in a BMW, jumped in a Toro Rosso, won in a Toro Rosso, went to Red Bull, and then just went through a very dominant period.
I believe he started out in Sauber BMW.
I know he did
And
a
then
test session for them. I don't think he. Wait, did he do like one or two Grand Prix to fill in for a driver and then he got signed to Toro Rosso that next year? I don't think he did a full year with Sauber.
I don't remember what he did.
I don't remember. I know he
Um,
did a test session under his belt. That's all. That's all I can
yeah,
100% say. I think he filled in for a race. Yes, I think he filled in for a race with BMW Sauber because he got points on his first race. I think.
yeah. And then he fucking won in a Toro Rosso at Monza.
The sister team beat the main team. Well, I guess that also happened with Gasly and Monza, but that's another story.
Yeah, that's entirely different.
Rain
um,
equals everyone.
oh yeah. I'm excited to see what happens this year with rainy races. With all these rookies. It's gonna be chaotic.
Hopefully, it's not a bowling alley.
Oh, more than likely it will be.
I think we know a driver that'll be joining that. Caused
Oh
one
yeah.
in Hungary in 2021. That's another story, anyways.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Anyways, let's gloss over that.
yes. All right. Who do you think overall is going to be the best driver this year? Most consistent, best pace, just absolutely show a class of his own.
This will be a quite a bit of a hot take. Hamilton. He is going to adapt. He's going to improvise, adapt, and overcome. And that Ferrari is going to be one of the quickest cars on the grid, if not the quickest car on the grid. And yeah, he's going to be great. I just know it.
I could absolutely see that happening. Hamilton has shown characteristics, and he is a phenomenal driver all across the board. The one thing we can hope for is that he doesn't get discouraged jumping in that Ferrari, which I know he was actually
Yeah.
doing simulator time, even though he hates doing that. So he may be up to grips with what they're doing, but now he just has to fight God against the strategists to hopefully make sure everything works out well. So I think he's still fully
Yeah.
capable of doing that, though.
I mean, he's shown that he's able to give engineers valuable feedback on development, how the car feels, whatnot. Um, so I kind of see that transferring over to Ferrari from Mercedes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I I fully believe that's definitely one that's going to be a big watch for people. One, it's going to be a test to see if Hamilton really still has it, but it's also a test, can Hamilton adapt to this new situation he's going into, which I believe he can. It's just going to be a how quickly can he, because he's going to be up against Mr. Charles Leclerc. So
yeah,
it's going to be an
that's
interesting test.
that's kind of that's one of the things that could prevent him from being the best driver. Charles Leclerc.
Absolutely. And that's where I jump to my section. I think I have two drivers, but I'm going to put this out here first because I'm not picking him. You are an absolute moron if you rule Max Verstappen out instantly.
Yeah,
Max, no
yeah,
matter what the circumstances are, Max Verstappen is at the peak of his game right now. Four championships in
he's
a row. He's been in his prime, I argue, since 2019 was when we saw Max really come out of his shell as one of the greats of the
yeah,
sport. I think you're a moron if you rule Verstappen out. I think he could seriously do something this year, and I don't know what Red Bull's cooking, but God only knows at this point. But
yeah. Verstappen, good.
I think my pick this year is Charles Leclerc.
Ooh,
I
teammates.
think, yes, I think Charles Leclerc has had time to focus on, well, I wouldn't say maturing a little bit because he's already had quite a few years in the sport, but he's definitely had time to
Yeah,
look back and improve based on his initial title challenge with Ferrari against Red Bull in 2022 before they just ran away with the championship. Leclerc had a ton of errors when he was under pressure with Verstappen. Of course, the most iconic one was the scream in France. And exactly.
that one.
Yeah, exactly. But I think he's had time to go back in and review, and I'd be damned if Leclerc walks into Ferrari and gets beat by Hamilton day one. I think Leclerc is going to put
Yeah,
up a very valiant challenge this year, and he showed a lot of maturity and he showed a lot of improvement last year, especially. He seemed to kick into a gear that I haven't seen in him, at least for most of his career. 2022, he looked good, yes, but he was very prone to mistakes when under pressure. I did not see that from Leclerc this year. I think Leclerc
yeah,
is going to be a serious dark horse for the title, and I think that I honestly feel that Leclerc is just going to run away with this, either A, destroy Hamilton, or he's just going to be able to outpace whatever Ferrari gives him at this point. I feel like he's walking into this year knowing this is his shot. This is his shot to fight because Ferrari developed that car at the end of last year and they were pretty rapid. They kind of mixed with the rest of the field where Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari were all very keen on having very good low cornering setups. Low speed, medium speed corners were kind of where that car was designed around last year, and they did damn good at it. I mean, Ferrari was kind of contending wherever you looked. He got beat a couple times by Sainz, which was a bit interesting since we saw another side of Sainz in that instance, which then begs the question
yeah,
of how Hamilton's going to jump in and do when you're comparing Hamilton to Sainz. Hamilton's classes above. So what is he going to do jumping in that car? But back to the point, Leclerc, I fully expect him to just take it a notch up this year in every
yeah.
way possible.
I could see that happening, honestly, because he, ever since joining Sauber in what, 2018?
Yes.
Or Alfa Romeo Sauber, whatever.
Oh, how I miss
He's
Alpha.
been, me too, man. He's been incredible every single season, but he's definitely, like you said, improved last year. Um, I could see him being the best driver this year, along with Hamilton or Verstappen, obviously. Verstappen would be the safe choice
I absolutely
because
agree.
4 championships in a row. I mean, well, I say only Hamilton. I mean, Vettel.
Schumacher.
He's in a pretty elite class. So honestly, I might have to switch my best driver
Go
to
for Verstappen.
Verstappen. Yeah,
And that's the
might.
thing. It's all situational based on how these cars are developed. Because if
Yeah,
McLaren maintains a good car, then we're possibly going to see a challenge of battle for the number one driver in that instance. Because Piastri, he's not going to sit back unless he's forced to, which unfortunately happened last year. Piastri is a monster. Lando is pretty damn good. He's experienced in that car. He knows what he's doing. There's going to be a battle inner
yeah,
the team for first driver, but also who's going to prevail on top of that team and possibly win the championship if they have a good car. Ferrari, Leclerc has Hamilton in his rearview mirrors now. So he has a 7-time
Yeah.
world champion as his teammate, which he could use to his advantage for either strategic car setups or, just general advice how to be better. He could absolutely
Yeah.
learn from him and just take off. Verstappen,
I
Verstappen's going to be good no matter what you give him, but I think it's purely situational on what they do with this next iteration of car, which I do have some updates about that when it comes to the constructor standings.
Yeah, I could absolutely see Hamilton playing the role as a mentor for Charles Leclerc. Um, just because he's getting old. Let's be real. I mean, he's getting old. He's nearing the end of his career. At least I feel like he could pull an Alonso.
Yeah, very true.
um, so I mean, what's to say that he's just gonna play? What's to say that he's not gonna play the role of being a mentor? Um, I could see him going for an eighth and breaking the world record just as much.
First ever Motorsport Series 8-time world champ. That would that would be monumental. No other racing series
Didn't
has ever had more than seven win championship wins, I believe.
Valentino Rossi got 9?
I stand corrected.
Yeah,
I guess I
Valentino
was sitting there
Rossi.
thinking about like Dale Earnhardt, Jimmy Johnson,
Yeah,
Schumacher, Hamilton. I guess I am still out of the loop when it comes to MotoGP. I apologize.
yeah. I mean, I don't blame you. I'm not really that big into MotoGP either, but
Yeah, I'm just not knowledgeable.
neither am I.
This next
Yeah,
question is going to be, who is going to be the most improved team this year? Who's going to make the furthest jump in the constructor standings?
I think either Williams or Haas because Haas they have their Toyota technical partnership now,
Absolutely.
and Toyota in the World Endurance Championship they've done insanely well the past like almost 10 years now, 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, that's because Porsche left. We don't talk about that.
Unfortunately, RIP.
But with that being said, Williams could also be the most improved, just simply because of science joining and the development time from them being at the bottom of the barrel.
I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
I'll just go ahead and throw that out there. My pick's Williams, but that Haas pick is a bit interesting, I will say. That driver lineup is probably my most concerning thing for that car this coming year,
Yeah.
actually. But I don't know, because Toyota right now is poking and prodding about possibly opening up a Formula One bid for themselves. They've been basically using this strategic partnership to
Yeah.
open up the possibility of having a team, which I don't know if that means they're going to buy out Haas or try and see if they can bring a 12th team on the grid.
Yeah.
That's really the big question in this instance. They're getting a lot of technical insight from someone who has very deep racing history experience, but then it
Oh
boils
yeah.
down to the drivers. You lost Nico Hulkenberg, who is like good old reliable. That man is a unit. Like even as old as he is and as far away as he's been from like doing well, he was pretty damn close to Mr. Consistent last year. I mean, I feel like he
Oh yeah.
outpaced Magnussen quite a bit. I don't know the actual numbers on that. I could pull that up, but I Hulkenberg was a gem, and they had brought him back into the sport, and he absolutely nailed that second driver's seat when they'd had issues with both Mazepin and Schumacher for the last few years.
Oh
So,
God, Matt's spinning.
yeah, that man. But Hulkenberg came in as good old Mr. Reliable and absolutely nailed that seat. Didn't have many issues, or if he did, it was just a really unfortunate circumstance like Brazil, where he just got
Yeah.
disqualified because he got assistance getting unstuck from being beached. But Hulkenberg
That was
was
bull. it, by the way.
Yeah, but I understand it's in the regulations, so can't argue with the rule book. Unfortunately, I wish we could though.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting because now you're seeing Oliver Behrman, who is a very, very talented rookie coming in. He doesn't have
He's
as much of a junior series success as some of these other drivers coming in, but he
yeah.
proved his worth with Ferrari when he played the role of super sub. He also played the role of super sub with Haas for 2 races when no, one race when Magnussen was banned last year. And I do have that number actually. And this is something that I think's actually very interesting. What race did Behrman fill in for Magnussen? Was it
Was it
Mexico?
Monza?
I think it was Mexico. I'm not
I
sure.
can look it up.
Yeah, go for it. But this is the interesting thing. So on that same chart where it has the fastest lap super time over a Grand Prix, the fastest lap compared to his teammates, Oliver Behrman was 0.6 of a second faster than Nico Hülkenberg when it came to their fastest lap time over a Grand Prix. Behrman destroyed Hülkenberg when it came to that. I think he placed higher than Hülkenberg that same race. Well, if it, I'm not sure, but Behrman has a pretty good setup currently.
Alrighty. According to uh AI on Google,
Mm-hmm.
uh Oliver Behrman filled in for Carlos Sainz Jr. at the 2024 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix and for Kevin Magnussen at the 2024 Brazilian Grand Prix. So you weren't far off.
I thought he subbed in at Mexico too, because I know he was in for Magnussen when he was sick in Brazil, but I know he also got a race ban and filled in for him then, I thought, but I could be just 100% completely mistaken, so mm, I don't know. I'll figure
Yeah.
that out later. But their other driver, Ocon, they brought in Ocon from
Ooh.
Alpine.
That's
That's
gonna
where
be interesting.
I don't know. I don't have the highest opinion of Ocon. I'll be completely blatant, so a lot of my views are just very
Yeah.
tainted because I'm not the biggest fan of Ocon personally. I don't know. Like, don't get me wrong. He's pretty consistent, but he's also consistent into crashing into his teammate, intentionally or not. That's a very big issue that Ocon has. Which coming in with
And
Behrman,
people when they're lapped,
yeah,
unlapping themselves, you
I,
know.
I think you mean when he was unlapping himself, not other people unlapping
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Ocon, he is pretty fast, but I think if I remember right, yeah, Ocon got completely outpaced by Pierre Gasly over at fastest lap. 0.2 of a second faster Pierre
Yeah.
Gasly was. And Gasly raked in points last year. Ocon isn't able to perform up to that level of Pierre Gasly, which putting him then against Behrman. Behrman's a rookie, so he's probably going to do well in the beginning, but I have a feeling Behrman's going to bounce back. And I have a feeling Behrman's
Oh
just going
yeah.
to absolutely outclass Ocon in every single way. I I think Ocon will do well, but I'm expecting a couple dramatic crashes, maybe one with his teammate. I don't know if that Ocon pick was good for Haas, but he could absolutely prove me wrong. I just from
He,
experience, he's questionable.
I wonder I wonder if they picked him for like the financial backing. Because isn't he one of those like pay drivers rather than like pure skill?
No, his parents sold their house and lived in a trailer park so he could go karting.
Oh.
That's a polar opposite there. That's a polar
Okay.
opposite. Yeah, no, he does not have any financial backing. It might have just been best of the rest that was available on the market, but then again, I mean,
Yeah.
you're leaving out Franco Colapinto, who's now sitting in the reserve seat for Alpine for a multi-year contract, which I believe is 3 years. So,
I mean, they did kind of have a bad experience with Schumacher and Mazepin. Well,
yeah.
let's not talk about that.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
period. That's a period.
yeah, that's man, I miss Schumacher in F1.
I do too. He's sitting Mercedes
Sad.
reserve and Alpine LMDH team driver currently. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, at least he's like still racing.
yeah. He's still trying to claw his way back in Formula One, which I hope he gets his chance. But at the same time, I just
Yeah.
hope he's able to make that jump so he can come back in and actually do well. But yeah, back to the teams that we actually picked. But Williams, I think they're going to make a jump. My one hindrance to that is they spent an ass load of money on repairs last year. Because those
Oh,
last
that's
few
right.
races, they spent a giga load of cash when it came to repairs. Because I think, what is it? They lost 7 cars in the last like 4 races or something like that. It's 8 crashes in the
Yeah.
last 5 races, something like that.
Yeah.
They spent a
It
lot of money
wasn't
and
good.
time. Those mechanics, I really hope they got some bonuses because good night, they were working overtime to get
Yeah.
that car ready for a race. It was qualifying bin after practice bin after oh oops, front wing gone, fix. It was not great. It was not great, fully admittedly. But regardless, I think they're going to solve their issue when it comes to the crashes. I mean, Albano's still
Yeah.
on there. Albon's a very solid driver.
He
However,
is very good.
Albon got fucking obliterated when it came to race pace in Colapinto. Colapinto was outpacing Albon to a whole other level. Um, Particularly, Colapinto over 3 Grand Prix versus Alex Albon was 4/10 of a second faster when it came to the fastest lap of the race. 3 races, Colapinto was blazing fast, and I was pretty confident that Colapinto actually was capable of racing some of the last few. That I thought he was going to outscore Albon on points in the driver's standings with the few races he had. But yeah, Colapinto is a stud. So, and they're now
He
throwing
is
in Carlos
absolutely.
Sainz, which he's going to be Mr. Reliable. He's not going to be crashing as much as Colapinto. And Sainz is one of those drivers where he is not well known for putting on a wow display of a race. Like, he does very secretive races, to my opinion. Like, he's secretly lurking
Yeah.
into the background until he pounces, and then he's just like, oh, wow, there's Sainz out of left field. Where did he come from? Key Brazil
Yeah.
2019. But the dude, he's Mr. Consistent for a reason. I mean, he doesn't put on the wow races. He's not violently dominant. He's not a Verstappen or a Hamilton, but he
Not at
gets
all.
he gets damn good results, and he does them very secretly and very under the radar. So I think that's going to be a big pickup for Williams. I just think it's going
Yeah.
to be interesting to see the gap between Sainz and Albon when it comes time, since Colapinto was kicking the shit out of him at the end of last year. So I'm interested. I think Sainz is
Yeah.
going to outclass Albon by a country mile, but that's a discussion for later.
I think it's going to be Haas. That's going to be the most improved team. But Williams, they could be they could be the most improved. I mean, like I said before, they've got that development time. Um, they've got Albon, they've got Signs. Really, they should be doing pretty well this year.
Yeah,
They should. Will they? Maybe not.
it's a good
We'll see.
question. I feel like my dark horse is Sauber. My dark horse is Sauber. If they spent
I
development time on that car, Bortoletto, I have a feeling is just going to have a fucking year. We'll see him above Hulkenberg once he makes that rookie jump. Hulkenberg, I feel like he's going to be pretty consistent. The big basis on that, did they develop their car? That is the question, which I don't think they will. I don't think they put much money on that. They made a jump at the end of last year, but not enough.
I don't see Sauber doing this year.
They're going to be
Simply for
saving
the
it
fact,
for Audi.
yeah, simply for the fact that they're turning to Audi next year.
Yep.
So, what's the point in having one good year and having years for the next, like, era of aerodynamics when you could get that one year out of the way, absolutely send it for God knows how long.
I still feel bad for Bottas, though, but who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe we'll see him appear another time.
that's actually. I have something on that later
You've got
on.
something. Oh, Lord. I did not think of that.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, on to the next topic. a fall off team. What team is going to fall off a cliff this year? Who's going to go from a decent position in the standings to absolute garbage?
I want you to go first.
All right, brilliant. Alpine. Instantly. Alpine instantly. My whole reasoning behind that is, I mean, Alpine has not been doing great. They lost a lot of technical staff this last year. They lost a lot of people. They fired a lot of people. They're basically a new team
That's
building from the
fair.
ground up at this point. They killed off a ton of staff. I think their head of aero forfeited, their head of strategy forfeited. They lost their team principal, all that. Flavio Briatore just emerged from the dungeon to join that team again, which that's going to
Yeah.
cause even more chaos. Because as the
Oh my
news reports
God.
have been going absolutely batshit crazy, Flavio put out a quote:
Yeah.
I am ready to sack Jack Doohan's ass within first 5 races if he doesn't perform. Flavio Briatore is going to ship off Doohan
He is
halfway through the year.
cutthroat.
Yeah, he does it his way or the team is f***ed. That is how Flavio runs that team. And I think because of that, because of one, the major staff loss, but also they're pulling in Doohan, which I'm not a big fan of that move. And clearly Flavio isn't either. I think Alpine's going to suffer from that. I think Jack Doohan's going to
Yeah.
struggle to get up to grips with the car. He's never had a great, really, junior series. He did well in karting, junior series. He had several shots at some of the series, and I don't think he ever won a championship in any of them. Like Formula 4 to Formula 2, he never won a championship. I
No.
think his closest was third in Formula 2 this last year. But Jack Doohan has never stood out as a driver that's been like a natural talent in the making for a long time. He's just been kind of there, which I understand from that instance why Flavio's sitting here, especially since there's a report. I think it could have been a complete rumor, but a while ago, one of the like sources in the media came out and said that Jack Doohan did a personal test of the car at like Paul Ricard or a track of some type that was similar to what they ran on earlier in the year, and he did lap times a second slower than Pierre Gasly. So he already is pretty down on pace if that's
Yeah.
actually him showing what he's capable of. I have a feeling Flavio Briatore is sending him to the dungeon within the first half of the season. By
Absolutely.
summer break, Jack Doohan's gone. That's another thing we'll discuss later. But I feel like Alpine is in a crumbling state currently, so I would not be surprised if they're fighting for the final table scraps with Sauber at the bottom of the leaderboard this year.
Yeah. I can absolutely see that happening. I mean, ever since they switched from Renault to Alpine, they've absolutely sucked ass.
Aren't they going to be on Mercedes
Um,
engines this year?
I believe so. And Aston Martin's supposed to be on Honda soon.
That's 26.
Soon. Yeah, that is 26 actually.
That
Shit.
is, yes. Because all these new
That
teams are
would be
coming in
fun.
at 26. Anyways, yes. Yeah, no.
Um,
They have to redesign the entire platform to fit that engine now.
yeah. Yeah. I can see Alpine falling off even harder now because like these past few years they've had a lot of friction within their team. So I could definitely see that happening. However, I think McLaren's gonna fall off.
Oh, that's a hot
Yeah.
take. I'm ready to hear this. I'm ready to hear this.
So remember the team orders in was it Hungary?
Yes.
And you know how the World Championship, World Constructors Championship gets the least amount of wind tunnel time.
Yes.
And you know how Piastri has been improving
Yes.
consistently.
There's going to be a battle for power.
Lando and Oscar are going to beat themselves. They will have a decent car, but it's not going to be enough to overcome them having an in-team battle.
And their race strategy was struggling quite a bit last year, too. Great
Yeah.
Britain, they fucked Piastri over when it was the change from inters to softs, or was it softs to
Yeah.
inters? And then, of course, Hungary was the mishap where they prioritized Lando behind Piastri, which undercut him, which enraged half the community. He shouldn't have gave his win up to Piastri. Cry about it. That was Piastri's win, and McLaren just absolutely shat themselves. But no,
Yeah.
that's a great take, honestly. That's spicy as shit. You think they're gonna go back to top of the midfield like they used to be back in the days?
Yeah, they might.
Ooh.
And I'm a McLaren fan.
Yep, same.
I'm a McLaren fan through and through.
The Jack Daniels is hiding up here.
Yeah, that's fire. But yeah, no. McLaren's gonna fall off. I really don't want them to fall off, but I think it's gonna happen.
Ooh, spicy.
It's gonna be the same case as Red Bull. Like it's gonna be the same. It's gonna be what Red Bull did this year on a much larger scale, except with in team fighting.
Very interesting. That is
Yeah.
hmm,
They're gonna go back to being top of the midfield, unfortunately,
I could see
and
that
I'm depressed
happening.
about it.
Ugh, they had their shot. That is a bold prediction there. And speaking
Yeah.
of bold predictions, our next topic, we have several
Hey.
subsections there. So the first one is flat out, who's going to be the Overtake King? Who's going to do the most overtakes this year? I need to change this because I am not picking who I put on there now. But who do you think is going to overtake the most cars and have the most total overtakes at the end of the year?
It's got to be Piastri, man.
You think the
It's
McLaren's
got to
going
be.
to start out that low to begin with and he's just going to be fighting his way up?
Yeah, it's gonna be Piastri because, like I said, they're gonna fall off. How far they're gonna fall off, we'll see. I think he's gonna start really slow and kind of heat up as the season goes on,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like what happened last year. Um, I think he's not gonna miss like Q3 or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
like of that nature, but he will be consistently at the bottom along with Lando. But he's gonna actually over he's gonna overtake people. What can I say?
Yeah. So I'll say what my initial prediction is, and I'm now changing it because my opinion changed and I realized it, and I didn't change this one. But my Overtake King was Hulkenberg, just because I think he's going to be fighting
Oh,
back from the back of the field. Which honestly, it could still be a good take, but it's purely on how well did they develop this Sauber for this next year.
oh
But
yeah,
I think if I have to pick otherwise, I think it's a pick between either Sainz or Tsunoda. Because I think Tsunoda is going to be doing his typical start in the back. He's not the greatest qualifier to start with, but his race pace is typically where he'll take a. Actually, no. Tsunoda's
that,
pretty well on qualifying and then kind of falls back in the race a little bit, but everyone falls back. I feel it's Sainz.
yeah.
I'm going to say Sainz. I think Sainz
That's a
and
good one.
Williams, he's going to struggle. He's going to struggle to get the grips with the car at first, and so he won't qualify the greatest. And then even then, I don't. I think Sainz is typically better at race pace, anyways. So I think he's going
Yeah,
to start a little bit further back with that Williams, and then he'll get up to grips with the machinery, and then it's just an overtaking clinic at that point, which we don't know where Williams is going to be. They could be anywhere from the back to midfield. We don't know yet.
yeah,
So I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and say Sainz is going to be the pick for most overtakes this year.
yeah. I hope to see Williams improving
I believe they
because
are.
yeah, I like science. He might. That's a good pick, honestly. That's a really good pick.
That was impromptu.
Uh, yeah. Sonoda, I could see him being one of the one of the more overtakey people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like I said, that RB, I don't think it's going to be very good. I don't think it's going to be very good.
I don't think it is either. That's another big thing. I think it's going to be way slower than the Williams, honestly. But I don't
Yeah.
know. It's going to be something of how do these cars develop by the end of their life cycle? That's the question at hand now.
Yep.
All right. The next bold prediction category, Rookie of the Year. Which rookie's going to shine amongst all of them?
I'm not convinced that Antonelli is going to be. I'm not going. I'm not convinced that Antonelli is going to be the next Max Verstappen or whatever they're hyping him up to be.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be Behrman.
I like
I
that.
think it's going to be Behrman. Um, I mean, when he subbed in for uh, what was it, Magnuson
Mm-hmm.
and
Signs.
yeah, Science. He's done pretty good. His junior series career, it's shown promise. Um, I'm aware that Kimi Antonelli's junior series careers, he's done all right, and I think Behrman's going to beat him out for Rookie of the Year, not in points.
He was one of my initial picks, and then I switched it up a little bit. So it's kind of conditional, which I'm going to say the one that I'm kind of ruling out first just based on my predictions, but I initially thought it was going to be Bortoleto. Because Bortoleto has been
Ooh.
utterly dominant in a lot of his junior series. He won F3 and F2 back to back, and now he's straight into Formula One. Left the McLaren Academy and has gone to Sauber. So if Sauber is given a good car, I feel like I can confidently say we're going to see Bortoleto out qualifying and beating out Hulkenberg pretty quickly once he gets up to grips. Bortoleto, I feel like, is going to be a talent in this sport within the next few years. He's going to be up there at the midfield, and he's going to be a very valuable asset to a lot of teams, and they're going to want him. In the meantime,
Yeah.
if Sauber's not given a good car, I feel like right now I'm kind of sitting on Antonelli, which is the polar opposite of your
Ooh.
decision. I think Antonelli can do it. I don't think he's going to lead up to what Toto Wolff is looking at, where he's like creaming himself, saying it's the next Max Verstappen. He's not missing this opportunity for taking another Max Verstappen.
Not at all. I mean,
But Antonelli's going to
he
take
could be
time.
good. He could be he could be the next Sebastian Vettel, the next Max Verstappen, the next whoever.
Yes, he's been
But
setting.
I
Sorry, he's been
but I
setting
see,
very promising lap times during some of his testing. I don't remember what it was, but I think someone
yeah.
said he was like half a second to a second faster than Russell around a lap on one of the cars he was testing in. He tested, no, what was it? He tested, I think it was one of the old Silver Arrows. I think it was like the W12 or something, or the W11, and they took it to a common track that they go around, and I think he was half a second to a second faster than it was either Hamilton or Bottas in that car. Whoever was the he Antonelli has shown rapid pace during his tests. Antonelli is scary. I think Antonelli is genuinely going to make that jump.
He was a second faster than Hamilton.
I believe so. I believe that's the driver that was faster. It was either I think it was either Hamilton, Russell, or Bottas. But he tested in one of those cars, and someone reported that he had did a rapid lap time during one of his tests. I think
Can he do it
Antonelli,
consistently?
if not,
Can he do it
it
consistently?
was a few tenths runoff. That's the question. Can he do it consistently? But Antonelli,
If
very
he can,
promising junior career, and he's coming in as a very young guy. So there's plenty of time to
yeah.
develop. He is on a 1 year deal, but I don't see him leaving Mercedes unless someone else decides to give him the whole checkbook. Because Toto Wolff is going to fight tooth and nail to keep Antonelli if he sees him as this big of a
Yeah.
project. Unless Antonelli turns into a Logan Sargent and just bins it every race, that's the only way I see that contract not staying. But I think Antonelli is going to take it to the next level, and I think he's going to be Rookie of the Year. I think he's going to show in a couple promising results, and I think he's going to be one of the new rookies who's going to be fighting for his first win in the sport. That's a hot take.
Ooh.
I
Ooh.
think Antonelli will get a win before Hamilton.
Damn. Damn. I don't have Mercedes being that quick.
I don't either, but I just have promise that I think Antonelli is going to be quick enough to outpace when necessary, and he may be in a right situation at the right time.
Yeah.
That's what I'm kind of
Yeah,
looking for.
I could definitely see that happening because it happened with Alpine and Ocon. I mean, how fucking chaotic does a race have to be to do that?
I mean, you saw how it turned into a silver arrow 1-2 for some of the races last year. I mean, who's saying that Mercedes
That's
can't
true.
figure out how to develop a car properly, and then Antonelli just takes the right strategy and just absolutely destroys George Russell? I would not rule that out.
The question is, though, how much of that development was Hamilton?
Of the car,
Yeah,
if you remember some of the reports into him leaving, he was like, he told the team back in 21, 22 that the car was going in a wrong direction and they need to relook at developing it a different way. And they did it and the car failed. And they came back to him and they're like, oh, yeah, we're sorry about this. We should have listened to you. There's a report out there somewhere when Hamilton was leaving Ferrari that he gave insight towards developing that Mercedes and they blew past him saying it's not going to work. And they went their own way and they f***ed themselves. And now Mercedes is in this
yeah,
limbo of potentially being best of the rest of the midfield versus scrapping it out in the top two because they're not one.
yeah,
They're not going to be back in number one for a while unless they can get everything squared away and Antonelli develops. That's the only way I see that happening.
yeah. If Antonelli can do what he did during testing consistently, I might be convinced.
I think Antonelli will be a dark horse this year.
Yeah. um, yeah. Antonelli, honestly, I haven't really looked into him that much.
He
That
beat
might be,
Behrman last year in the F2 championship in the same car. He's on the same team. Him and Behrman were teammates at Prima in F2, and Antonelli got fifth or sixth in the championship, and Behrman got like 12th or 11th. Antonelli was taking opportunities
honestly,
that Behrman wasn't.
honestly, I think he just convinced me. Dude,
I don't have to convince you to come to my side. I'm just saying. I think Antonelli's a dark horse. I think he's going
yeah,
to take time to develop. I think he's not going to be great off the start, as all rookies are, unless you're fucking Max Verstappen. But even then, he struggled. But
yeah.
I
I think Antonelli could do it. He could become Rookie of the Year if Behrman, let's be real, sucks.
or Bortoletto is not given a proper car.
Honestly, any of these rookies could be Rookie of the Year. It's a toss up, really.
It's really down to what the
Except,
circumstances. Sorry.
yeah, except for Doohan. Doohan just, no.
Oh, Flavio Briatore is sending him to the door packing within the first season, half the season. I'm almost guaranteeing it at this point.
Yeah,
Which then leads
probably.
us to our next bold prediction. It's actually not that. That's the second
Yeah,
second
no.
last bold prediction. But surprise contender, team and driver. They don't have to be on the same team. They don't have to be the team doesn't have to be the same driver for the teams on. Surprise contender, team and driver. I'll let you go.
All right. This will come as a surprise for you, obviously.
Mhm.
Alonso.
Ooh.
I think Alonso is going to be a surprise contender for wins. Not,
I want to see him win
I'm
again.
not saying, I'm not saying he's going to contend for the world championship.
Okay.
Let's be real. That's not happening. But he will contend for race wins
Maybe next year.
consistently.
Maybe next year. Give Newey
Maybe,
time.
maybe. The team, as I've been hinting towards for the past however long, Ferrari.
You
Ferrari's
have
going to
them
be
as a
the
surprise contender? Because they're being like widely regarded as the front runner right now. That or McLaren.
yeah. Um, honestly, I just didn't know who to put
That's valid.
for the team
That's valid. I
because
guess
I mean
that's where I will come in with my take. So continue what you were saying.
I don't I don't see any of the usual suspects or I don't see anyone outside the usual suspects contending this year. So,
That I can 100% agree with that. That's where my hot takes come in on this. Surprise contender, Piastri. I've said it earlier. I think he's going to make that jump, and I think he's taking it to Lando. I think if McLaren brings a good car and they don't shit the box and go back to what they were doing in 22 and be like dead
yeah.
last in Bahrain, overheating engine
Oh my,
issues, bad drivers, yeah, the whole 9 yards of series of spiraling depression. If they don't go back to
don't
that and they
remind
make a
me.
good car, I know. I feel the same. If they don't go back to that, I'm fairly confident that Piastri is going to outpace Lando this year.
Yeah.
So,
Piastri is incredible. He's an incredible
he
driver.
is a brilliant young talent, and he's going to be world champion. He is world championship caliber. It's just situational
Oh
based
yeah.
on how's everything going to develop for him. The
Yeah.
next one is a little spicy, but it's from the usual suspects. Surprise contender for the team, Red Bull. I think Red Bull makes a resurgence. The only
Ooh.
reason why is there's like a post and a report that came out a while ago, but Enrico Balbo and their head of he's a head of aerodynamics. He had a talk with the other guy who I think's like technical officer for Red Bull. But for RB21, they are going back to default settings. They're reverting a lot of their upgrades that they thought were edgy and innovative, going for the RB20, like some of the side pod designs and everything. They are going back to the fundamentals. They're stripping it down to base zero and building it from the ground up from the platform they had with RB19. They're basically doing a little bit of innovation off that, but they are stripping all of the innovation and crazy cool stuff they are doing for RB20. They're going back to basics, which is what McLaren
Hmm.
did, which is what McLaren did for the 2024 season. They went back, it was
Oh
either 2023. They are going back to fundamentals because that was the approach McLaren had going into that season is no fancy shit, just let's do a basics, do what we know, do it best, and build from there. That is what Red Bull's approach is doing. That is why I'm saying don't sleep on Verstappen, but also in this instance, you cannot sleep on Red Bull. If Lawson can get up to grips, their whole point in bringing Lawson onto that team and resetting the design of RB21, they want the championship back. That is the
yeah.
main focus, and that is what Enrico Balbo exactly said to the report. They're focused on the championship now. Both. They need it back in their trophy cabinet. And they're designing a
Yeah.
car around that to ensure that happens. They're not done.
The one question mark, Adrian Newey. Adrian Newey, which is also kind of the reason why I have Alonso as a surprise contender.
I don't think we'll see Alonso get off to the start that we think he is. Because if you think about it, I don't know if you know, Newey has not started any design or any input towards Aston Martin yet. He is
Oh
contractually
shit.
not allowed to work with Aston Martin until the season starts in March. So he has not touched that car at all. Alonso, yeah, Newey has had no impact on the development of the new Aston Martin car, which is why I say if Alonso's going to do something, it's 26 when we'll see that, or later in the
He could
year.
do it later. Yeah, he
Later
could
in the
do it
year.
later in the year. Yeah. Um,
But until then, no input from Newey
I'm here's the
and new
thing.
team principal. But sorry,
No, Adrian Newey. This is the first year, and I don't even know how long that Red Bull hasn't had Adrian Newey.
was it 2008, 2007 when they stole him from McLaren? 2009.
Didn't no. I was gonna ask if Adrian Newey did Braun GP, but I don't think he
No,
did.
no, that was Ross Braun. No, shit, I don't remember
Uh,
who actually designed the Braun GP. But anyways,
yeah. Without Adrian Newey, I'm not convinced because Adrian Newey is a big part of how good Red Bull's been doing the past like few seasons. The past 4 seasons, really.
mm-hmm.
I'm not convinced.
That's
Might
the
be
one big
crazy of
question
me to
mark.
say. that might be crazy of me to say because it's still Red Bull and they still have a brilliant, brilliant engineering team
But they
behind
lost more
them.
pieces too.
That's
Remember,
true.
they lost their sporting director, Jonathan Wheatley, to Audi. They lost, who else was it? They lost another big key role in that team. It was all during the Horner drama because they lost Jonathan Wheatley, they lost Adrian Newey, and they lost one other big character, and I don't remember who that third big character was. He was another crucial part of the design team, I'm fairly certain, or someone in pit operations. It wasn't Hannah Schmitz. We've kept Hannah Schmitz.
It wasn't GP.
Yeah, GP and Hugh Bird are both safe. Horny Man is still there.
Poor
Uh,
man,
yeah, Horny Man. Marco's still there.
unfortunately.
Was it like no head of race strategy still there? I don't remember, but there was a third big key person who left Red Bull after that whole drama section, and I don't know. That's the thing. They've lost several key parts. Jonathan Wheatley was big for their sporting director. Obviously, he did all the communications with the FIA and everything, and he's been in that team. He's been a cornerstone for a long time. Adrian Newey's been there
Yeah,
for a long time, and as chief technical officer, he was basically in charge of the design of the entire fluidity of the car. All branches coming together from chassis to aero to everything else. He would bounce between all the teams, helping with design and manufacturing of those parts to make a fluid car. Losing that is huge. But, counter argument, that doesn't take away the lead roles that were already in that position. Enrico Balbo is still head of aerodynamics. I don't remember who's chassis lead. All the lead roles, unless they left with the horny man drama, are still there. It's just
yeah.
they've lost chief technical officer, which is a very important part. But alas.
There is going to be quite a bit of turmoil within that team just because of the whole like Horner situation and all that. I can just tell.
100%.
Um, and with the second seat, the fucking second seat, the second seat curse, with Albon, Gasly, Sergio, that's going to cause even more turmoil because what if, you know, Lawson doesn't get the same setup as um, Verstappen and shit starts right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where things start going downhill.
Yeah. I also found the list of people who've left Red Bull, and it's actually pretty substantial. Rob Marshall, chief designer, who sat right next to Adrian Newey in his role, left for
Ooh.
McLaren to be their technical officer. Jonathan Wheatley left, of course. He was their guy to go to the Audi F1 project. Dan Follows, he was the previous Aero lead, and he left the team for Aston Martin before Enrico Balbo took over. Lee Stevenson was Verstappen's first mechanic, which it's not showing the other one on this article, but they actually did lose their head of strategy, Will Courtney. He went over to be the sporting director at McLaren. So they've lost their head of strategy, they've lost their sporting director, they've lost like Max's right hand man for pit, and Perez is gone, obviously, but womp womp. They've lost their previous
Yeah.
air lead. They've lost their previous like co-technical officer beside Newey, and basically all of them have left to either Aston Martin, McLaren, or Audi. They have
Yeah,
Aaron
that's
Schmitz.
quite a few. That's
They've
quite a few.
they've
Quite a
lost
few
prominent
pieces.
figures. Very prominent figures are gone.
Mm,
That's the question mark. Can they survive losing those pieces? Which it's racing. You're going to go on. Obviously, you're
yeah.
going to get new people in that role, and they could be better, they could be worse, but losing that many key figures pretty quickly, because the three that departed this year are Will Courtney, Jonathan Wheatley, and Newey. The other ones departed in 22 and 23, so they had already left. Red Bull was already doing their thing without them, but
Yeah.
you lost your basically super seniority members are gone to rivals.
Yeah, and you lost your fucking absolute golden boy in aerodynamics. I mean, probably one of the best aerodynamicists to ever do it.
I got the book down here to my right.
Yep. That's going to be quite the loss
Yes.
and quite the gain for Aston Martin.
As soon as they can utilize him. Until
Yeah.
then, they've been kind of grasping at straws and trying to continue carrying momentum, but they've been spiraling downward since their godlike season in, what was it, 23?
Man, that was incredible. You just had to be there.
It's so disappointing that was the Red Bull dominant year because I really wanted to see Alonso win a race. So
Yeah.
who knows?
He got
26.
plenty of podiums, but 2026. That's his year.
Maybe 26
Call it
we'll
right
hear
now.
him finally say GP1 engine. Ah, how nice. It is a rocket ship. And we're trashing on Honda.
That would be incredible. I would love for that
This
to happen.
engine is quite nice. GP1. Very, very nice engine. Totally not
All right.
garbage. Anyways, one bold prediction for the season.
I was kind of lazy. Ferrari will win.
I was also semi-lazy, and I led up to it very previously. Piastri makes the leap to beat Norris this year.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. Yeah, Piastri has improved a ton, like we've been saying.
Oh, yeah.
I could definitely see that happening.
100%.
Not without a lot of infighting, but
yeah,
that's to be expected.
Yeah, we'll see how that kind of plays out next year because that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Hot takes. Hot take number 1. Will there be seat swaps mid-season or throughout the 2025 season? If so, who? I'll let you lead off because you've been hinting at this for like the last 48 hours.
Tsunoda and Lawson.
That is
Lawson
possible.
will absolutely shit the bed. I think Tsunoda's gonna make the. I think he's gonna make the jump. He's gonna show that he's ready. Lawson with his first full year in F1. That's gonna take a toll on him.
Mm-hmm.
Especially being in a top team. I mean, especially being next to Max Verstappen, that's going to take a toll on him.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. It's going to be a big mental game as soon as he gets in that role. I mean, he obviously has to perform because Marco's going to be up his ass about it, but he has to make sure that he doesn't get in his own head about it because that's when we saw the downfall of Albon. That's when we saw the downfall of Gasly. That's when we saw the downfall of Perez, and it just spiraled worse. If he doesn't keep his head in line and he's just down on himself, the swap's happening. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Marco will be ready to pull the trigger.
I will say, however, his mindset is a very, very good mindset to have when you're racing at Red Bull.
Yes, 100%. Focus on yourself.
Yeah, focus on yourself and don't worry about whatever the fuck your teammates doing. Just focus on yourself, improve on it, learn from mistakes.
Yes, absolutely. I think Lawson's capable of doing it. It's just really going to be how are those first few race results going to be.
I think it's going to be he could push through, but I think it's too early.
I guess we'll have to see how that plays out because it's also interesting since Lawson and Tsunoda used to be teammates in some of the junior Formula Series. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to end up with that seat ending this year and going into 26, which we can speculate on here in a little bit with one of our final sections. Do you have any other seat swaps, or was that your only one?
That's going to be my only one this year.
All right, I got 2.
It's going to happen 2025 into 2026. That's
Oh, you have it end of 25 into 26?
yeah.
Okay. I didn't include that in this section, but I think I kept it the same as these mid-season swaps. So I have two of them. One is really hot, really random, and really out of nowhere. The other one is kind of just written on the wall at this point. I'll go with the very easy one. Doohan out, Coltopino in. I mean, let's be honest, that's going to happen by the mid-season marker at the summer mark at this point. The way Flavio Briatore is wanting to boot this man and is saying, I will have his in 5 races if he doesn't do well, that just speculates immediately. Plus, who in the hell
Oh
is
yeah.
going to sign a reserve driver to a 3-year contract if you're not going to chuck his ass in there after he performed damn well that last season?
Exactly.
He's taking a risk to see if Doohan's good. If Doohan's good, I doubt he will be, he's staying. If not, they
Yeah.
have a monster of a driver who's still developing and toning in his skills, sitting in the reserve seat ready to be kicked in and immediately just move on with his life.
Colapinto is going to be amazing
100%.
if Doohan sucks.
I have a feeling he will be. I have a feeling it's just written on the wall. The way Flavio's already
Yeah.
making threats, it's a wrap. It's a wrap for Guy on Red Stairs. It's a wrap. He's done.
I guarantee Doohan's already in his head.
Oh, he is.
He's got to be.
Especially after that 1 second slower lap testing session than the good driver he's competing against.
Yeah,
He's cooked. He's cooked.
Yeah, I just don't see it ending well for him. Not at all.
Not one bit. All right, and now for my next heater, which I don't remember if I told you this one last time, but I tried not to, just out of how spicy and random it is. I think Isaac Hadjar is going to get sacked mid-season for Ayuma Iwasa. I think Ayuma Iwasa is finally going to get pulled in.
I fucking thought about that.
So Hadjar was not super impressive through his junior career. He did well in karting, as basically every Formula 1 driver does. Junior series, he was not impressive. He spent quite a bit of time in there. I think he's a bit on the older side. I don't remember how old he is. But Hadjar has never really stood out.
I think it's like 23 or something like that.
Yeah, and even then, in his F1 test, he never shined. He went a round with Toro Rosso at one of the earlier races this season, and he got 17th in free practice. And then he jumped in Verstappen's Red Bull in Abu Dhabi and got 17th and spun. And then, of course, his final F2 race, he stalled on the grid, which immediately gave Bortoleto the F2 championship, so there was no fight for it. So he literally just choked harder than, some of my favorite sports teams in the NFL, but that's another story for our non-European viewers. I think Hadjar is not going to perform to the level, and I think that Mr. Helmut Marko is just going to say, get your ass to the curb, and they're going to pull in Ayuma Iwasa, who's on one of his last few years of his Red Bull deal at a Super Formula, and stick him in an F1 car, because he's shown some promise.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be next up in line, because they don't have much left besides this Vlad kid, who's still, I think, 17 years old and in Formula 3 right now, so he has plenty of time to develop. They can't drag his ass out of F3. They'd have to beg the FIA like Mercedes did Antonelli. So
yeah,
I think Ayuma Iwasa is the immediate replacement because they don't have anyone else lined up, and I think Iwasa is the immediate reserve driver for both teams currently. I don't know, because it was Lawson, and then he got pulled in, and then it was Hadjar, and now Hadjar's pulled in. I think Iwasa is next in line.
I would love to see him. I would love to see him pulled into F1.
I completely
He's
agree.
done really good. He's done pretty good in Super Formula. I think he got second in the championship last year.
I think he did, yes. It was a top 3 for sure.
Didn't he beat out Lawson in Super Formula? Because Lawson got...
I'm not quite sure.
I think Lawson was close.
It was a close battle. I don't remember exactly who placed where against each other. That's something I didn't dig into, and I should later. But
yeah, I didn't dig into it too much, but I think Iwasa got like second or third in the championship.
Because I know
which is really,
Lawson got
really good.
second that 1 year he went in. Because he only did it for
Yeah.
1 year. So, unless Iwasa won it, he'd probably be behind Lawson in the standings. But I'm not sure. I don't. They could have been racing in completely different years, too. Because I think Iwasa was still in Formula 2, like, 2
Yeah.
years ago. I'm not quite sure.
All right. My hot take. I said this before. I'm going to say it again. McLaren will beat themselves in the championships with an in-team rivalry.
Okay.
That's the main reason I don't see McLaren doing well this year. I think they're gonna kind of drop off, and this is the reason why. Oscar's an incredible driver, very competitive. Lando's also a really good driver, also very competitive. And that doesn't tend to end well. That doesn't tend to end well.
Ricciardo and
They're
Verstappen vibes.
Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. An exact carbon copy of Danny Rick and Max Verstappen.
I wouldn't be surprised.
They're going to have several crashes with each other this year.
Oh boy.
And when they do well, there's going to be a lot of fighting about it.
Oh, Twitter will be crazy.
Oh yeah, Twitter's going to go insane.
Oh, it's going to be a slaughter. I'll just have to log off.
Yeah, I'm not going to get on Twitter at all this season.
Yeah, no. All right. My one hot take, which is two separate ones. I kind of broke the rules, but hot take one. Mercedes continues their trend and struggles to develop their car and test it and figure out what's wrong with it. The past few years, they cannot dissect what they've done wrong with the car. Toto over the radio says, I don't know what we're doing. I mean, it's very blatant. They have issues and they have no idea how to fix them. I don't think the engineers are going to be capable of fixing it. However, they did make a very nice resurgence in 2024, so I could be proven wrong. It's really down to, do they understand what in the hell they are creating? Which, then again, we'll have to see next year for that. My second hot take...
A very big one.
My second hot take is where it gets spicy. I think Hamilton is going to show he's lost competitiveness. And I think he's going to be behind Leclerc for this upcoming season. I think Hamilton is going to fall off a cliff in this instance. I think Hamilton is still going to show that he can play well. But I think he's going to start to find issues with the car and he's going to shut down again. And Leclerc is just going to destroy him. Hamilton will still be competitive. He'll be close to Leclerc. But he's going to get destroyed. And I think he's just biding his time in red. Because Leclerc is the Ferrari boy. They might preference him. Yeah. But also, Hamilton's a 7-time champion coming into that team. And they were recruiting out the ass to get him. So I don't know who they're going to give preferential treatment to. They may try and run equal drivers. Which will create issues within the team.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, I feel like they're just going to let them race.
They have to. Because
they've got to. I mean, Leclerc he's a great driver and all. He's not a Hamilton.
Well, the championship's definitely not, but...
No. He could be.
The pole conversion ratio will never be the same, but that's something for more data-focused people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah. We'll get to that.
100%. We'll get to that. We'll do one last hot take category that we glossed over a little bit. Who do you think is going to be a first-time race winner in this upcoming 25 season, or who do you think is going to be the first-time race winner in this 2025 season?
I forgot about that category, honestly.
Did you have one down?
Yes.
Okay.
Despite what I said about Tsunoda and Lawson swapping seats.
Lawson?
Yeah. I think Lawson's going to win a race this year.
Me too. Yeah. I had Lawson down and then in quotations, Kimi Antonelli alternate. Because if Kimi can get it hooked and Mercedes as well, he will do it. However, If that jump back to fundamental does happen for Red Bull, I seriously think Lawson, if he's in the right circumstance, is gonna jump on it. But then again, that's
That's
the thing.
key.
He has to be able to beat Verstappen or take advantage of a situation where Verstappen is having issues. If Verstappen has
Hmm.
reliability issues, like what happened in Australia 2024 with a brake duct getting sent to SpaceX, then it will
Yeah.
happen. They will happen. If Verstappen has reliability issues, I could see Lawson winning it. If he's there in place to take the opportunity, like Verstappen did in, what was it, Spain 2016?
Yeah. Spain 2016, where the Mercedes crashed into each other.
Yep. If shit happens, they have to be ready.
Yep. And that's what makes a great F1 driver. You have to jump on the opportunities that you're given. Yeah, but that's the key. You have to jump on the opportunity if it's given.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because if there's no opportunities, Lawson won't win a race. But
If he,
if circumstances allow, he will win a race.
see, my question is,
Same with
I don't know if he's going to be able to outpace Verstappen. Or if he
yeah.
does, then he's
mm,
just a young god. But I have a feeling if he's going to win, it's going to be by messed up circumstances.
I would love to see a battle between Lawson and Verstappen.
I can see it already.
That would be
Battle of the century.
peak.
Battle of the
That'd be
century.
amazing.
Two very prominent young drivers, well, young in quotations, that were like very good in their coming up.
Hey, Verstappen's still pretty young.
That is
Keep
true.
that in mind.
That is true.
He's like only what, 27,
27.
28?
27, yeah.
Yeah, that's still pretty young.
Oh, yeah. But we don't know when he's retiring is the issue. Because he's hinted at leaving in 28 if the FIA is still a bunch of whores. So
Which more than likely they will be.
we just
More than
gotta hope he
likely.
doesn't. If not, we'll probably see it in the World Endurance Championship at Le Mans. Because he wants to do that with
That would
Alonso.
be
So
amazing.
he's already said he wants to do it with Alonso, so I wouldn't be surprised at that
Yeah.
point. But alas, on to the final categories of this. We're going to get into the constructors and drivers standing picks. I think we'll do. What do you think would be a more fun way? Should we take turns and then go first, second, second, third, fourth, and on like that?
Um,
Or do you want to start from the bottom up?
Bottom up.
Okay. Do you want to go first? And
Yeah.
then we'll do 10th. I do 10th, ninth, all that. And
Yeah.
I'll just build. Okay. 10th.
All right. 10th will be Kick Sauber.
Kick Sauber. We all know
Ninth
why.
will be, yeah. Ninth will be RB.
I have Alpine.
Ooh,
I have them falling off that far of a cliff.
damn. Eighth will be Alpine for me.
8th will be Toyota Haas Racing.
Ooh. Seventh will be Williams.
7th is Racing Bulls.
Ah, yes, Racing Balls.
Racing Balls.
Sixth will be Sixth will be Toyota Haas.
Spicy. 6th, Williams.
Ooh. Fifth will be Mercedes.
5th will be Mercedes.
Fourth will be Aston.
Aston.
Damn. Okay. Here's where it gets spicy for me.
I think I know.
A close third will be McLaren.
I have Red Bull Racing.
Third?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
On that instance, that Lawson cannot keep up with Verstappen and the car is not fully developed yet. I think it's still, and McLaren doesn't shat the bed, nor Ferrari.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Red Bull third.
And a close second will be Red Bull.
Second, Ferrari.
And winning the constructors will be Ferrari.
I have McLaren. I think
Yeah.
I think as long as they don't Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton each other, I think the
Yeah.
tandem of both of them will be able to easily outpower Leclerc and Ferrari to bring home the most points and bring home the championship again when it comes to the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah. I think the top three will be a very close fought battle.
Oh, it's going to be a battle within 100 points. That's my bet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Um, I mean, just this past year is really, really close.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
with McLaren winning, Ferrari second,
Red Bull's further
Red Bull
back.
third.
They were further back.
Yeah.
Ferrari and McLaren were, what, within 20 points?
Yeah. It was insanely close.
Ah, man.
Um, but I have it being a three-way battle all the way to the end.
I 100% agree with that.
Um, and like I said before, McLaren will unfortunately lose out driver, because of in-team battles. Red Bull will lose out just because they've got a new driver. He's not going to be up to grips immediately.
Yeah.
Ferrari obviously is going to win because of Hamilton and Leclerc, provided that they don't also have the McLaren issue.
Yeah.
That might be a big one. That might be
Yeah.
that might be an issue.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited to see it though.
Absolutely. I have Sauber at the bottom. I don't think they're going to develop their car. Alpine I have falling off a cliff, and they're also having issues switching between drivers. So one of them's going to try and get up to grips, fail. They switch drivers. Someone else has to get up to grips, and then they have to go. So I don't think they're going to have time to scrape in as many points. I think Ollie Behrman's going to pull off a masterclass, and Ocon will be able to scrape in a fair share of points too to bring Haas to 8th. I think Racing Bulls with Hajar in the second seat is going to struggle, and Tsunoda is going to be pulling the weight, which will carry them only to 7th with a decently developed car if they pull anything off of RB20 with any inspiration of parts. Williams, I think they're best of the rest. I think Sainz is going to rake in a hell of a lot of points, and Albon's going to trail behind him. And they're just going to be like back in the midfield again. Mercedes, I initially had that. I don't think Antonelli's going to be able to get up to grips initially, which I probably should change that for Aston. But jump to Aston. I think Alonso's going to have a masterclass of a second season once Newey's able to inspire people a little bit. It won't be immediate. Of course, Newey takes his time to do his craft, but I think ultimately they're going to design a pretty killer car in the future. And I think Alonso is going to take full advantage of that and drag Aston Martin up with Stroll just lollygagging in the back, crashing into cars for fun because he's an asparagus and likes curbs. So I think that's going to be a bit of a struggle between teammates there. Red Bull, we said it. Lawson's new. He has time to get up to grips. It's a new car. It's based somewhat around Verstappen with a very pointy front end. He has to get up to grips with that, which is what Albon struggled with. Perez struggled with deep in development, and Gasly just couldn't do. So it's going to be tricky to get up to grips. I think Lawson can. It's going to take plenty of time. Ferrari, yeah. I think there's going to be a discrepancy with Leclerc being ridiculously fast and Hamilton being trailed behind. I don't think Hamilton's going to be on par with Leclerc. He's going to be up there. He's still going to be breaking in. We'll see him on the podium a good amount, but I don't think he's going to be up to the level that Leclerc is. And then, kind of like I explained earlier, McLaren, as long as they don't mess each other's races over, I think it's going to be a double tandem of two drivers who are able to rake in points more than any other team who's not switching drivers and having to deal with new like affinities between two drivers and new engineers and stuff like that. So good, reliable. Yeah. I think they're going to nail it.
Yeah. Here's a pretty hot take about Kick Sauber, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to score less than 3 points on the season.
Ooh. They scored 4 this season, and that was all in the second half of the season.
Yeah. They're going to score less than 3 or equivalent.
I'm going to give them a higher buffer. I think Sauber is under 15, under 10, under 10.
Yeah. I honestly, I see them doing a 2019 Williams.
I could absolutely
They're
see
not gonna
that.
do. They're not gonna do Jack Dooley.
I think that Bortoletto is going to be given an opportunity in a race where he's capable of showing off some real pace, and he's going to be able to sneak into a points on an occasion. That's 100% my belief on that. I think Bortoletto is going to
Yeah.
really find himself later in the season. It'll come off on a circumstance like Brazil 2024, where they can just show out.
Yeah. Kind of like. Yeah. I just don't see Kick Sauber doing anything. RB, they could step up, maybe get like a 5th place finish at some point in the season.
Yeah.
Maybe. Big maybe.
Yes.
I mean, but really that's the case for all the mid-tier teams.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%.
Just with the mid-pack being so competitive.
It's going to be a tight year, I have a feeling. There's going to be the front 4 or 5 teams competing, and then the midfield's just going to be kind of scattered back. But it'll be interesting to see, for sure.
All right. Ready to move on?
Drivers standings. We'll do the same format with the drivers, but we'll build from the ground up. Do you want to start first, or do you want me to start first this time?
You go first.
All right. 20th, Doohan.
Yeah. You might fucking think I'm crazy for this. 20th, Bortoletto.
I think he's going to outscale some of the other rookies, unless the car is a 2019 Williams, and then you are absolutely correct. Well, he might be able to outshine Hülkenberg.
Might be able to, yeah.
I don't know. Hülkenberg's a good old vet, so that's a difficult conundrum.
Yes, it is.
Right. 19th, Isaac Hadjar.
Me too.
Yes. 18th, Gabriel Bortoletto.
All right, 18th, Doohan.
Okay, so we're a little swap.
He's going to have a better car than Hadjar and Bortoletto.
I still think Alpine is going to be a back marker beyond all belief.
All right.
17th, Behrman.
Oh.
Actually, I'm going to flip that. Hülkenberg.
17th, Hülkenberg.
And 16th, Behrman.
This might be a little counterintuitive. 16th, Tsunoda.
Ooh. Okay. 15th, Ocon.
15th, Gasly.
14th, Gasly.
14th, Albano.
Ooh. 13th, Stroll.
I could see that. 13th, Ocon.
Okay. 12th, Albano.
12th, Behrman.
11th, Yuki Tsunoda.
11th, Sainz.
Okay. 10th, Kimi Antonelli.
10th, Stroll.
9th, Carlos Sainz.
9th, Antonelli. Pretty similar so far.
Yes. 8th, Liam Lawson.
No fucking way, me too.
7th, Georg Rossell.
Me too.
6th, Fernando Alonso.
6th, Norris.
5th, Lewis Hamilton.
5th, Piastri.
4th, Lando Norris.
4th, Alonso.
Spicy. 3rd,
Oh yeah.
Oscar Piastri.
Third will be Leclerc.
Oh. Oh. Second,
It's
Max Verstappen.
8-2.
You have Hamilton winning?
Yeah.
Charles Leclerc.
Damn.
We both have the Ferrari boys.
We have
Ooh.
really similar driver standings.
Yes, we do. And just for like viewer reference, I'm a Verstappen fanboy. I like Red Bull, but I like McLaren more. He is a McLaren fan, and I don't even know what driver you rep anymore. You Norris?
I'm Oscar Piastri.
My man. Yeah, that's my second.
Yeah.
That's my second driver.
I will say this, the top three will, just like the constructors, be close fought. Not as close fought as 2021,
Mm-hmm.
but like obviously it's not going to be level on points going into the last race. That's like a once in a lifetime kind of thing.
Yeah. I very like I believe a lot. How to fuck the word that. I seriously believe that the top five for the driver standings this next season are going to have two McLarens, two Ferraris, and a Red Bull. And that Red Bull's going to be Max Verstappen. It's just interchangeable on Ferraris and McLarens. Who's going to be where? But I seriously believe that Leclerc's going to stand out amongst them all.
He very well could. I mean, him being third in my list doesn't tell the entire story.
Yeah.
I really think it's going to be a three-way battle all the way to the end. And I really hope it is.
Peak. That would be peak.
That would be amazing.
Oh, I love it. Oh, man. All right. Now, this is where things get interesting. So we are straying from 2025, and we are doing the very, very fun task of way too early 2026 seat swap predictions for the 2026 season.
I was excited for this.
So this is where things are going to get decently spicy, where we are predicting what drivers are with what teams at the beginning of the 2026 season, including the team I've been waiting for far too long now, Cadillac Andretti. And Audi, but Cadillac Andretti. But Cadillac Andretti for me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, how about I just list a team and then we go with the two drivers, or do we want to how should we go about this?
Honestly, let's do you go team and then like give your two drivers and then I'll do the two drivers for that team.
Okay.
After that.
Let's go spicy to start things off. Cadillac Andretti.
All right.
This one's going to be interesting.
Provided that Herta wins the IndyCar championship this year,
possible,
he will drive for Cadillac Andretti. However, if he doesn't, it's going to be Jack Crawford.
That's my super sub. That's my super sub for Andretti, the other American.
Because they have expressed that they wanted an American driver first and foremost.
Yes.
Along with a driver with experience. What's that driver for you?
I wonder if they bring on Kyle Kirkwood. Sorry, that's a side tangent. I wonder if they bring on Kyle Kirkwood. That would be interesting because they're not bringing back Marcus Ericsson. They're not bringing back Ericsson. All right.
Oh my God, I wish.
Did you already give your second seat?
What?
Did you already give your second seat?
No.
Okay. Seat 1, Colton Herta. I think he's going to get it regardless because if I'm correct, he's already close on super license points. Of course, he has not been
Yeah.
super close in the championship. He's not done much testing time. He did some with McLaren a few years ago, which, fun enough, he apparently did really good times, but Zach Brown is being a very secretive person to the lap times that Colton Herta put down in that car. He refuses to tell any team principals the lap times that Colton Herta put down in his car. So no one else knows how good Colton Herta is besides Zach Brown. Little interesting fact there. But
If he's being secretive, that probably means they're better than one of the drivers at McLaren.
Yeah. And I think he might be doing the same thing for Pato Award there. Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, fuck.
We both think the same thing. I think Pato.
He's not American, though.
Yeah, he's the Mexican Minister of Defense. I love Pato.
Whoa.
I love Pato. Pato would be fire, but he's sitting under McLaren's reins right now. So that would have to be a fight Zach Brown situation to get Pato out of contract.
Yeah.
But I think regardless, whatever happens, I think Cadillac and Andretti, no matter what standings Colton Herta makes this year in IndyCar, although I hope he wins the championship, I think they're going to go bitch to the FIA. They're going to say, hey, Colton's close enough on points. You did it for Max Verstappen. You just did it for Kimi Antonelli. You have a star young American who's done phenomenal in IndyCar with a underwhelming team and bad strategy in IndyCar, unfortunately. That's another story for another day we can get into. But Colton Herta has the potential to do absolutely phenomenal. And I think they're going to argue to bring in Colton Herta no matter the situation. I think Colton Herta is seat number 1 at Andretti.
Yeah. I thought about Logan Sargent for Andretti, but they probably would have learned their lesson by watching.
They didn't even sign him in IndyCar. He got denied an IndyCar seat. He did testing and got rejected.
Damn.
Because I think he was doing it for Prima and Meyershank Racing, and Meyershank Racing went with another driver. I don't remember who it was. But he did testing and got beat out. Yeah, he did testing, got beat out. So he has no IndyCar drive this year. So I don't know what he's doing. Probably Floridian. Fighting alligators barehanded and fishing with, I don't know, a stick of dynamite. Anyways. All right. Seat number 2 for Andretti.
Second seat. I mentioned this earlier. Bottas.
Ooh.
He acts like an American.
Ooh.
Has a mullet, has a mustache. He's got experience. A lot of it. He's a great driver. Very underrated.
I think he's also expressed interest towards Indy. In the case that nothing works out in F1, he's already said he wants to go and drive Indy. I don't remember if he said exclusively the 500 or if he wants to generally drive the series. He has expressed a lot of interest if Formula One fails, and he's dropped out of the reserve role for Mercedes. So
yeah, he is reserve driver for Mercedes.
That could line up. I like that
because there's not many experienced drivers available.
Unless you
pull many.
Unless you pull from the list that's already been there. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see Joseph Newgarden or Alex Palou. Ooh, Alex Palou getting his shot would be
sick.
Heat. That would be a bitch to get him out of his contract with
2 IndyCar drivers.
He's a Chip Ganassi. He's a Chip Ganassi. That's right. That would be a bitch to get him out of Chip Ganassi's reins. But he's done hours of testing with McLaren, and he excelled in Super Formula, I'm fairly certain. I think he won the Super Formula Championship. Palou did.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah, I don't remember. I see onboards of him as Suzuka all the time, but that's another story. He would be a good second pick. But I went the other direction. I went with a driver who excelled in the junior categories of student formula, did phenomenally, won F2 championship, and no team picked him up in F1. So he took his chances overseas. He went to IndyCar. He bid some time with McLaren Aero Racing, and they didn't give him a seat, which pissed me off. And now he is a second driver. I think he's a driver for Prima this upcoming year, or he's a free agent. I think Andretti is going to pull in Formula 2 champion Theo Pourchaire. Teddy Porkchops is going to be coming to Andretti Cadillac. He excelled. He was the best rookie on
God.
points. He was the best rookie on points in the season that he played for McLaren Aero SP. In the few races that he subbed in for, I think it was either a sick Alexander Rossi or a hurt Felix Rosenquist or something, the few races that he subbed in, he did lights out. And he was one of the highest ranked rookies on points in the IndyCar Championship that year. I think Teddy Porkchops is coming back to Formula where he's been trying to go for a long time, and I think Andretti's going to give him that bid.
See, if Andretti didn't express interest in experienced drivers and American drivers, I would 100% say the same.
I think you could count Teddy. He's never had F1 experience. I think he's done testing because he is the reserve driver for Stake. For Kick right now, Kick Sauber, he's the reserve driver for Kick Sauber.
Ooh.
And I think he's done time on testing and stuff like that. He's raced in the Indy Championship and did very well. That's another story for another day. I'm still extremely pissed off by Arrow McLaren's lineup for 2025 in IndyCar. But that is another story that I can rant about on another session, on probably episode 2 or 3, once we decide to actually talk about IndyCar. Teddy Porkchops deserved a seat and didn't get it. And now he's going back to Formula One as a reserve driver. But he did. I think he had a really dominant F2 performance, and I think he won F3 the year prior or 2 years prior of his F2 win. And then I think he took one shot at F2, got like top 10, and then won F2. And then he's been not given a seat anywhere in Formula since. I think Teddy Porkchops has done enough experience on both F2, F3, winning those categories out, and then showing that he's able to translate over to IndyCar damn well. And by the way, IndyCars are much harder to drive than Formula One cars in their own sense because no driver assists. And that has been very widely recognized by Ericsson, Grosjean, and Pato O'Ward because your shoulders hurt because you're cranking that hoe with no power steering. Meanwhile, in Formula One, your neck just hurts.
Yeah, imagine that shit on a fucking oval circuit. You're going 230 miles an hour. Oh.
Ooh, there's a nice clip. There's a nice clip from Pato O'Ward on last year's 500 where he did a double save into turn 1 on Indy. He literally touched the inside curb, snapped up, caught it, snapped again even further, and then still caught it.
That is insane.
There's a reason that the broadcasters call Pato O'Ward the Ninja, because that man has the fastest hands in Indy, because he catches nearly every slide. Pato O'Ward is violently experienced in IndyCar. If he doesn't win the 500 this year, I'm drowning my sorrows now, Cole. That's another story. He should have won it this year. That was so sad. God, that hurt my soul.
Oh my
Anyways,
God, it was.
Oh, that hurt my soul. Anyways, let's go on. Move on from my depression of that. All right. Audi. No changes. No changes. Because
Yeah, spicy one.
Because Bortoletto and Hulkenberg are both under contract until 2026. Unless Hulkenberg gets angry, I don't see him retiring and I don't see him leaving. So they both stay the same since their contracts last that long.
I've considered contracts in every single one of my choices.
Yes.
I think the Hulk will retire. I think you're gonna love this. Audi has expressed interest in having a German car or driver.
Mick Schumacher or Sebastian Vettel.
Vettel.
Vettel has also shown interest in returning for a German team. So that would make far too much sense. I would not doubt Vettel pulling in Alonso and coming back. Alonso did in his goodbye video, mate. I'll see you in a couple years.
Yep. I would 100%. I mean, I would love to see that.
Vettel was still doing well.
I can see it happening. I
Vettel
really
was
could.
Vettel was still doing
And
damn well that last year, man.
yeah, he was. Depression.
Real, real sad boy hours.
Anyways, Bordelotto staying.
Yeah, I have him staying the same. I don't have any dramatic changes. I think it's just the way it is. I think he's going to run out his contract. I don't see Hulkenberg retiring. He seems to be having fun, and he's still doing damn well that he's wanted in this sport. So
Yeah.
unless something dramatic happens, I think it's going to stay the same. All
I
right.
dramatic. That kind of crossed my mind a little bit. Something dramatic happens.
Yeah. Although
I hope not.
2027. Anyways, Williams, no change.
No change.
Toyota Haas, no change.
Same.
I think Behrman's going to do well to earn himself an extension because Ocon, Sainz, Albon are all under contract until at least 26, end of 26 or end of 27. So,
Yeah.
Alpine, continuing my seat swap theory, Pierre Gasly and Franco Colapinto.
No changes.
Fair enough. Racing Balls, Yuki Tsunoda and Ayuma Iwasa. Oh boy, you're rubbing your hands. You got something vicious.
Liam Lawson and Dennis Hauger.
Oh my lord. I've been waiting for Dennis Hauger to be called up and I forgot that man's existed.
Yeah.
Oh, I've
Yeah.
been waiting for Dennis Hauger to be pulled out of F2 for the longest time now. I am not even joking. I'm surprised Dennis Hauger hasn't been given a shot. But I also said that about Yuri Vips, and we all know how that ended, so he could have been good. But
Oh my fucking god.
yeah, no, he f***ed himself there.
That
Anyways.
dumb.
Yeah. Pulled a, what was it, Kyle Larson or Chase Elliott on iRacing, whoever it was. Anyways, another story.
It was Kyle Larson.
It was Kyle Larson. Of course it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dennis Hauger.
It
That
would
would
be.
be Dennis Hauger. He's done well, but I feel like he's been in Formula 2 for no, I'm lying. He won the Formula 3 championship in 2021, so he's only been at F2 since then.
Yeah. I think Dennis Hauger's gonna get the I think he's gonna get the call up.
I'd love that. I love that. So
Oh yeah.
this is where it gets spicy. Aston Martin. Fernando Alonso. Felipe Drugovich. I have Stroll retiring.
Ooh.
I have Stroll retiring finally, and they finally pulled Drugovich out of that reserve driver role after he won the F2 championship and has sat there like a sitting duck after doing damn good things in Junior Formula Series. I think Stroll finally decides to retire after years of bullying through the internet and also just performing like. I think he's retiring, and I think Felipe Drugovich is going to be getting the call up to Aston Martin.
That is spicy.
I've been cooking.
I got no changes because it's daddy's cash. However, there have been talks about Max Verstappen being offered $1 billion contract.
That got proven false, actually. Fortunately enough, like a few hours after that report release, one, that's from the Daily Mail, and they suck at having accurate like articles. And then sources close to Aston Martin said that is completely fabricated. We would love Max Verstappen, though. Just not $1 billion.
I mean, an Alonso Verstappen in lineup would be just godlike.
That would be the most dangerous lineup I think I've ever seen. So long as the rookie keeps his skills, then that would be violently dangerous.
The rookie.
Yes. All right.
Unfortunately, it's going to be Alonso and Stroll.
I hope it's Drugovich. Anyways, Mercedes. Yeah, Mercedes. No changes.
Mercedes. No changes.
I think Antonelli's going to get a contract regardless unless he decides to eat shit every race. I don't see Antonelli getting dropped. Scuderia
Yeah,
Ferrari. I think no changes. I think Hamilton's going to run out his contract.
no changes.
Unless something happens, or unless he has the worst year of his career in which he sees like, oh, I'm washed, and everyone else sees, oh, he's not doing well, then I think he retires after bidding his time in Ferrari. But at the same time, I think before he does that, I think he's going to run out his contract. I genuinely believe
Yeah,
Hamilton's going to retire after his contract at Ferrari runs out. So, no change.
yeah. I think he's gonna win one last championship at Ferrari and then call it quits
I can see that
after
happening.
after his contract ends.
Yeah. McLaren, no change, of course.
Yeah, they're gonna keep their golden boys.
Absolutely. Red Bull Racing, no change.
Red Bull Racing, Verstappen and Tsunoda, as
Yeah,
we've discussed earlier.
absolutely. Oh, man. Yeah. And that's all she wrote. Yeah. This has been Sector 2, pilot episode number 1, where we made our predictions, and some of those are going to show up on my personal channel, but probably the pretty good length of this stream VOD is going to appear on our own channel, Sector 2 Podcast on YouTube, Sector 2 Podcast on TikTok, and Sector 2 Pod on Instagram. TikTok and Instagram will have highlights posted just from brief conversations edited down. The YouTube will have the full video of the chaos that unfolded during this recording session. My channel will just get 2025 predictions because it's just going to be a chopped up version of it. But welcome everyone to Sector 2. I'm glad you guys were able to join us on the pit lane. That was a fun adventure for a first time attempt, honestly.
For sure. And I'm
I
glad to have joined my good friend Austin on
absolutely.
this
And I'm glad to
start of a
have
very interesting adventure.
absolutely. I'm glad to have brought along the co-driver in the other seat, Mr. Kieran, since basically you and me are the ones that curated this idea back 3 years ago. So, I got to keep the tradition running of that. Now we have Sector 2 in full blast, and hey, we're here to have fun.
Absolutely.
It'll be interesting. I think we're going to do some kind of discussions and see what we're going to do videos based on. We're kind of doing in a big planning phase of what we're thinking about making videos for, whether it's
Yeah.
post-race debriefs or pre-race discussions or mid-season discussions, drama, quick update, kind of banking ideas. By chance, you've made it this long in the podcast, let us know if you have any questions that you would like us to look at or what you'd like us to do debriefs over. Plus, there's an anticipation right now that we may have in-person podcasts come next fall. So, nothing confirmed yet. We don't know. We will figure that out in the meantime. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah. We're just going to see where this podcast can take us at this point. We're going to be just explaining cars for everyone at this point. If you're interested, this is the technical discussion. We're the technical people that discuss this because we understand far too much about the intricacies of cars, racing, and everyday shop cars with blown tires, blown head gaskets, and oil cans falling off. So,
Don't remind me.
enjoy work, buddy. But yeah, no. This is a podcast from an engineer and, well, wannabe engineer currently, and a deep automotive, passionate
Mechanic.
person. Yeah, mechanic can fit too, but motorsport involved person. Yeah, we wanted to thank you guys all for joining us on this crazy pilot episode, and hopefully you guys will stick along for this journey and enjoy our hot takes throughout the season, and then we can get roasted at the beginning of next year for seeing how bad we were at predicting things. Maybe we'll actually learn something, but you never know.
Probably not.
Probably not. We'll probably still have garbage hot takes. So
Oh yeah.
who knows? Maybe they'll be spicier next year with more silly season stuff to come. Thank you guys for joining us. Have a good night. See you later.
See ya.